Hello and welcome to Davos. It's 10 years since Lehman went bust. This year we're thinking about where the stresses in the financial system might come from. Obviously some things are looking a little bit overvalued. Equity valuations look stretched. We have negative real yields and even negative nominal yields in parts of the bond market. And then we have the obvious bubbles like cryptocurrencies. Now I'm here with M&G CEO Anne, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we think might be worrying for the global economy and where the next financial crisis might come from. Now, Anne, you had just been on a panel with people including global bank CEOs, the Chinese regulator, and even Ken Rogoff, who wrote the famous "This Time is Different." Did you come away thinking this time is different?
It's really funny. Every time I think is different in some senses, but also there's a certain truth, there's a certain repetition in them. So it's dangerous to think things are really different, but problems never pop up in the same place that they did the last time. So I think what everybody's looking for in this wonderful environment that we're in at the moment is what might go wrong, but nobody can quite see what the trigger would be. It's just we're all beginning to get that slightly queasy feeling that really things are going almost too well.
Well, thinking about triggers, obviously QE has resulted in asset prices going up, negative rates too, benefiting property and equity valuations. We're going to see the end of QE this year, next year and going forwards, and probably even rate hikes, not just in the States but in Europe and Japan. Do you think that monetary policy will be the trigger we've been looking for?
I think the central banks are very alive to the fact that we're going to be moving into a new era. So I think 2017 will be the last year where effectively we have been in net redemptions, if you like, rather than net issuance. We're going to go into 2018 and you're going to see net central bank issuance again for the first time. But that's been done against a backdrop of global GDP growth, which looks like it will top 4% this year. More than 90% of the world's economy is effectively now in growth, and quite a lot of the major economies are now growing above their nominal rate, so the nominal equilibrium rate. So I think we've got a good backdrop. I think momentum is in the right place, but we are approaching a point where we're going to have to get used to a very different world to the one we've all been operating in for the last 10 years. And when you move into those new episodes, those new types of investment environment, there is always a heightened risk that somebody might just put a foot wrong.
Yeah, because I mean, default rates in credit are very low, and we look around and we think it probably isn't going to be our asset class this time. You know, it was in 2008. No one, probably in your panel too, everyone was probably thinking, well, it's not in my area there's going to be an issue this time. And maybe everyone's right. And something I've heard you talk about is that perhaps the next problem could be a technology problem as much as a financial asset problem.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. So I think in the banking sector, the banks are much more liquid and they hold many more liquid assets, and they're much better capitalised than they were 10 years ago. So the next problem is unlikely to come from the banking system, the conventional banking system. So where could it come from then? Well, we've got lots of new areas of the shadow banking system where actually we've not had experience of a credit cycle in those areas. Peer-to-peer lending is one. The whole rise of leveraged ETFs is another. So who knows how they will react if there is a new crisis. But then there are other possibly systemic risks which perhaps we didn't have last time around, and technology is one of them. We all now put a huge chunk of our businesses on the cloud. We're all dependent on an interconnectiveness that actually wasn't there 10 or 20 years ago. And could that be where the next systemic risk comes from? Well, possibly. We're all looking in the wrong place.
Anne Richards, thank you very much. Thank you from Davos.